Welcome to the Men on Purpose podcast, featuring dynamic conversations with emerging and established visionary men on purpose. Thanks for joining us today as we celebrate the men on purpose who are committed, creative, courageous changemakers, living their best, most fulfilling life possible. Now, here's the host of Men on Purpose, Ian Lobas.
Okay, Men on Purpose community, here we are, another week and another episode with my man Aaron Velky and I, just hanging out, talking about anything and everything that we feel we have an expert level of some kind on, right? I guess that sounds kind of weird, but we have worked through these things. We have done these things. We have gone from a certain place to a certain place, and we feel like we want to share. So every week we're bringing you information on a subject that we, our clients, frankly, the world sees as a challenge or a problem or something that they're trying to figure out or get over or get through or whatever. And we're just here to offer some, insight as to how you might be able to do that. It's an easy thing for us because, again, we are having these conversations normally. And so now we're just opening the mic and the camera up so that you can just be in our world as we're having these conversations and take what you need. Remember the pen and paper. You can take one little morsel or you can write the whole thing out and take the whole thing. It doesn't matter. Whatever you need, it's here for you. And that's it. So let's get rolling. Today we're talking about
how to find a business partner.
Or partnership in general.
Yeah, and maybe not how to, like we're not going to give you a guide on
being attracted to or attracting the right partner.
Very much, and knowing the difference between a good partner and not a good partner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Been through some stuff on that.
And ironically, I haven't.
Right.
And hopefully we can both kind of share opposite sides of the coin. I was thinking about this while you were talking. Remember that show, Mike and Mike in the Morning?
Yeah.
This is like Aaron and Ian in the loft. Aaron and Ian in the loft. And when he's like,
we'll have our own theme music. Coming episode 4, we'll start having theme music.
But this is an important subject. I've seen a lot of friction between business partners, and that may be inevitable, but there's positive friction, there's negative friction.
Sure.
And we're all looking for the right person to support us along our journey. And maybe today, if you're in the hunt for a business partner, or your strongest and best core competency, but are looking for something to complement that, we can help you navigate the journey and the exploration so you can find that partner.
Totally. And so check it out. One of the things that we've got to mention each time is Aaron and I are doing this because we're men on purpose and we take action quickly. The moment that the first time we did this, I said, we should be recording this. And the mics were out and Aaron set up something for like 3 hours and then we were recording, and then our editing team loved it and we're just going to continue to do this. So if you're a person of intention and purpose, or even if you're not and you want to be, taking action is being on purpose. So if there's something in this that, listen to yourself, feel yourself, understand what's going on while we're talking about some deep level stuff, some pain points, some fear points. Like, this is partnerships in business. This is partnerships in marriage, relationships. This is all partnerships. It's about understanding and knowing yourself, what you're great at, what you're not, where you need complementary skills from someone else, and how you can benefit a partnership and how that partnership can benefit you. So with that said, if something rings for you, if it scares you, if something comes up and you're just having some struggle with it, get on the website, ianlobas.com or menonpurposepodcast.com, click the apply button, fill out a little form. It comes over to us. We're not going to bite your head off. Just ask us questions. Come through and just say, hey, this is what came up for me during that partnership episode or the mission episode, or whatever it is. Don't be afraid to take action, because people on purpose take action. So hit up ianlobos.com/apply. Click the apply button. It doesn't lock you into anything. It doesn't ask for your credit card. It just says you're ready to have a conversation about where your life should be going based on your choice. If your life is perfect, great. Don't click. And if you think that your life could be somewhere different, and that's on you. If it could be somewhere different, if you're not fulfilled, you're not reaching your potential, if you're not happy as much as you could be in your business, your money, your relationships, your fitness and health, click and reach out, and we got you. We'll help you out. So with that said, let's talk about partnerships.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I've had a lot of partnerships in my life. And I watched my dad have a lot of partnerships in his business too that were, I think they were purposeful until they weren't. Some of them were convenient, some of them were purposeful, and then things change, people change, situations change, likes, dislikes change. And so the partnership changes, and you have to flow with that, you know, and there's also a lot of pain in partnerships. And so that's why I'm saying I'm incorporating the marriage and the business partnership because, or like a romantic partnership, because that's all the same. It's how you show up or what you need from somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that too many people, they find a partnership too early in life, like with a romantic partner that fills voids for them, and they don't understand who they are enough. And then it gets rocky and it gets turbulent, and you never took the time to actually figure out who you were in the partnership. You slotted into a role, and when that role changes, or when that person's role changes on the other side, you're like, what the hell? This isn't what I signed up for. Right. You know, you're not growing together. It's the same with partnerships.
No, there's a lot of similarities. And I would say, as a guy that's not married, I've learned about relationships through my business partnership and navigating the changes and the challenges and all of the pieces of a business relationship that's blossomed over many, many years and had ups and downs and contests and, you know, these beautiful moments of like mending and repair that I could take into a romantic relationship and say, okay, now I understand why this is important. And now I get why the commitment is needed to really create something magical.
Totally.
And I didn't have that before.
I used to think that a partnership was there to fill voids.
Yeah.
And I've learned that a partnership is there to complement each other and strengthen each other in the foundational level so you can rise up.
Nice.
And so I know that let's talk about some failures in partnerships. I know that my experience with partnerships has been, I was looking for leverage. I had fear and I guess a lack of confidence in myself. And I was looking for someone else to fill that void. And the last partnership that I had, where it all taught me a very valuable lesson, and I actually shifted, like real big shift, was last year when I had a partner that was just out in the wilderness, off left field somewhere, like issues behind issues beyond issues. And I can tell you from the first time we started talking about partnership, I was excited because I saw it as a leverage piece that would help me make more money without me doing as much. Mm-hmm. And that was dangerous. That's like for people that get into a romantic relationship in college or soon after, who are like, I don't feel like searching anymore. This is pretty good.
Yep.
And they know it's not for them. They know that it doesn't work 100%, and they're going with the hope model.
Yep.
And so I equate it to, you know, when something works like 95% of the way, it's still not working. It's like if you hug somebody and put a tennis ball in your chest. And I had this analogy with my dad. Like I had this beautiful relationship with my dad, and everything was out in the open, except there was still this like something there. This tennis ball, like we hug, there's a tennis ball. Just imagine that. And when you remove that, you're completely clear. And so this thing with my old business partner was something that I just couldn't put my finger on. It was just there was a level of trust that wasn't 100% complete. And that ended up biting me in the ass in the long run. And it wound up teaching me a lot. And I'm the person I am today because of all that. But to tell you the truth, all the signs were there, and I get it, hindsight's 20/20, but Like, I should have never gotten into that partnership, because one thing that makes Aaron and I's partnership great is that when we say we're going to do something, we do it. When we say we're going to show up, we do it. When we say, like, this is your job, complete it by this date, we do it. And I didn't have that with the other partner. And my insecurity and my fear and my BS allowed me to stay with somebody that was a total mess, with zero integrity, zero structure, zero shits given for any other human on the planet, total ego, total selfishness, just out for himself. And this isn't like bash this dude day, but I mean, that's what I experienced. And I stayed with it because I honestly felt like, well, I made the commitment, I should just stick this thing out. And sticking it out cost me a couple $100,000 when this scumbag stole the money to spend on extracurricular activities. You know, I don't know what he was doing with it, but I just Google extracurricular activities. You know what I'm talking about. Stupid shit for cars. And it was just it was my fault, because I didn't honor my side of the bargain by really watching this kid. And I wound up getting burned, and a lot of other people got burned, because we all trusted that somebody who runs at this high level, quote unquote, would have some kind of responsibility and accountability to what they say they're going to do. And he didn't. And I wound up fighting hard.
The story that Ian's sharing is one that I got to share in from the outside. And, you know, to watch you go through that was really interesting, because it had so many different emotions in it.
Yeah. And
as you progressively moved through it, you went from an anxiety to an anger, like all the stages of grief almost. And to see the way you reflect on it now is really awesome. And the way that you own pieces of that and are responsible for pieces of that. I think in some sense of the word, we can probably all think about a partnership, relationship, whatever, that's failed. And the biggest distinction that I see in the way that we look at the failure is a refusal to acknowledge responsibility.
Yeah.
Or a pure acceptance of our responsibility. Not distilled, not like, well, I did this, and, you know, it was kind of mutual. Like, very few times is there mutuality in anything that's very emotional for us. But it's really cool to hear, this was my fault.
Yeah.
I own this. I created this scenario. And for those of you listening, the reason that's cool, just so you know, is that it requires a completion of that emotional integration. You have to bring all of it in and deal with it and then complete that, and to then say, say, like, I've let go of it, but I can own it. Yeah. And that's a really neat thing to hear.
You know, I think the best piece of advice that I got when I found out that there was a couple $100,000 out missing, stolen out of the accounts for personal use, which is embezzlement, and all that shit will come to a head as the right people get involved and take care of that. And I sat at the bank and I thought, oh my God, like, I'm fucked. I'm so fucked. I cannot believe. And I called my dad in the car, and I was really upset, and I was crying, and I wasn't angry. I was really just upset with myself because I kind of allowed this to happen. Like, I didn't steal anything, but I don't think prevented it. And that's the same thing my dad said was, you know, I told him, and he said, all right, well, stuff happens. And you knew for a fact that you shouldn't have gone into this, and you did. And unfortunately, this lesson's going to sting a little bit. Here's the best piece of advice I can give you. Let it go and move on. And it was a lot of money. And I went home and I said, you know, I had to tell my wife, and I said, you know, we're going to have to pay all these people back out of our pocket because we have integrity. And unfortunately, we picked to work with a partner that's just like this, a total loser, scumbag, bottom of the barrel, you know, bottom of the earth kind of person. And I, at that moment, had to face a choice. Like, do I turn left and go backward and like get vindictive and revengeful? And I thought about that a couple of times. And then the other thing was like, no, the universe put this lesson here for me to get to the next level, and it's going to cost me. And if I do it right, it's going to improve every other relationship, including the one with myself, if I do this intentionally. And so it took about 2 weeks to get over the pain and the fear. And then I remember a hard money lender called me, and I'm great friends with this guy now. And I said to him, what happened? And he said to me, what's your commitment? And I said, my commitment stands. I have integrity to my word, and I'll make sure that everything gets paid back. Like that easy. You know, it's going to take me a lot longer than it originally was. But once he heard that, he said, great, now I hold you to your integrity and your word. And that's it. And that taught me something greater than I'd really ever learned in my life. And then when I went and talked to my wife about it, and I said, here's our commitment. We can't take this anger out on each other. We can't take the fear out on each other. We need to grow through this together. That partnership strengthened because this other partnership failed. Wow. And so our marriage today, and all of you will hear on the other episodes where you'll hear my wife and I on our mental purpose episodes, like our relationship is so damn good because we made a commitment to each other, and we held tight to the commitment, and we didn't worry about what happened. We just kept moving forward, which then opened up, you know, like people said to me, I guess you'll never trust anybody again. You'll never partner with anybody again. But then like Aaron and I have known each other for a while. And we said, like, what was it, last time or the time before I was here? It was like, it's interesting how this opened up like that. And for the last 3 years, we've been saying like, we should work together. We should do something together. And then all of a sudden it just one day was aligned.
Yeah.
Because I think both of us moved out of our own way. And it's the same thing in a romantic relationship too, is all the shit that you bring into it, it creates the relationship. So you're kind of like just in the whirlwind.
In the vortex.
Yeah. And you're not really paying attention to what's real. Most of it's just made up bullshit that you're making meaning of, or stuff from your past. And that's it. That's my rant. Go.
All of that was really important to jot down. So there are two things that I want to call out that I'll then speak a little bit about and storytell from. So what I got from what you said was that there were two moments of trust.
Yep.
The first moment was trusting my gut and my intuition.
Yep.
Which failed the first test.
But I didn't trust myself.
Didn't trust your gut, right?
Yeah.
Then the second one is you got to trust the other person.
Right.
And whether or not that was true, maybe it was for a time, you know,
there was never that level of trust there.
So it failed both barometers.
And so that's my failure.
Right.
There's nobody to blame but me. The result of my choice is this loser stole a shit ton of money, not just from me, but from dozens of people around the country. So when you own that decision, you can grow from it.
Absolutely.
Exponentially and quickly too.
Absolutely.
You know, if I would just blame, like most people blame their wife or blame their husband or blame their kids or blame the school or the government. But the moment you're like, no, dude, remember my ball off the foot theory, and you had the bowling theory?
The bowling lanes and things.
Same thing.
And just in case you need further clarification, we're not disconnected from another person's actions. Mm-hmm. We're just hyper connected with our responsibility, right?
And our response.
There are some actions that happened outside of our like influence that, you know, we had to respond to, but it is about how do we respond?
Totally.
And what piece of that is ours? And
it's actually all of it. It's all of it. The moment you take all of it on is the moment you grow.
Love that.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like there are a lot of things that I could say, a lot of times where I'm like, F this, man. Like I didn't do anything. Like, why do I have to write another $10,000, $20,000 check? I didn't do anything wrong. I did though. I did something that wasn't serving. A long time ago, way back when, right? And having that level of clarity and focus on take it all on. Yeah. Allow for that growth.
Yeah, I think those two pieces, those two like checkpoints for trust are really important. And my history with business partners has been very successful. And there are two litmus tests that I have. Maybe three. One is my gut instinct positive? Is it strong? And then the second is, you know, do I trust this person and can I validate that? But strategically, I don't think I enter into any kind of partnership quickly. And if I look back at all of my business relationships as they happened, we would kind of like experiment and like build. And in a world that is so instantly gratified, I almost sense that people have taken the same approach with a business partner, right? Like, all right, you're good at marketing.
Right.
I'm good at sales, and that guy's good at infrastructure. So like naturally we should be partners. Right. And all of a sudden now you're financially, ethically, morally bound.
Tied in.
And you haven't laid any groundwork for what is this partnership, right? If you've ever heard the phrase like let's put the relationship on the table and talk about it, right? Let's frame the relationship. You might skip that whole step. What do we want to build?
Totally.
What does this look like? What's the integrity that we want to keep in this business? What kind of ethos is here? What's the mission? Go back to the mission episode. Like, what's the mission of the business? If you skip those pieces and then you jump into the backside of like, whoa, you handle logistics? I'll go over here handling sales. You've got the what figured out, but not the why
or the how.
Yeah. And if you've also skipped the two litmus tests of like
the dating period.
The like, I feel good about this internally and externally. How could you possibly have a good partnership? Now, this is all hindsight for you in some cases, but when I think about even our dynamic, by the time we talked about a business together, there was already trust. Yeah. Because we'd done some stuff together and like tried it out and worked on stuff together and traveled and, had conversations that were congruent. But there was also like the inner dialogue of like, yep, this feels right.
Yeah, right.
and there's an incredible intelligence needed. So I say this, it takes some intentional work to get to this point where you can listen to your gut and then follow it. That is not automatic.
Yeah, you have to clear out the shit that is intruding and totally convoluting things.
Like all the noise.
Right. Which is what we do at our front-runner events, at our coaching business. Like, it's not a plug. I'm just saying that's what we do. That's what our expertise is in.
And that's the hard thing, right, is you've got a lot of noise. How do you learn to follow your gut? And people are like, oh, I trust my gut. Like, but how do you know the average person is like, well, what is my gut? How do I hear it? It's not like Jiminy Cricket just drops on my shoulder. It's like, hey.
How do you know it's dialed in? That's also just a general question.
That's a great question.
How do you know when your gut is dialed in?
I think that the body has a tremendous intelligence.
Sure.
And there are physical signs that tell you that you're there or you're not. I think there's an anxiousness that is present when it's not right.
I would agree with that.
I think there's an unsettling sort of doubt that lingers, and you might not be able to play. And this is where people don't trust it, right? You almost can't explain it.
Right.
I remember one time me and my buddy we were on top of a rock in a state park, and my buddy was like, hey man, you want to watch some fireworks? And I was like, bro, I have a really bad feeling about this. I couldn't there was nothing in the environment. Yeah. We were alone. It was like midnight. There was nothing in that environment that would have said, this is unsafe.
Right.
But I was like, I have a bad feeling about this. And we made a joke about it. And I was like, look, I don't know what this feeling is, but this is not right. And dude, I kid you not, 10 seconds later, over the hill came a helicopter with his lights on. What? And we had to take off running. So like, I'm serious. This is
sensed it.
We can have this story one time, but there was something intuitive that my body was aware of that mentally I could never explain to you. And running through that woods from the helicopter, fugitive. I remember like sensing that I had sensed something before it was real. And that is the only and probably clearest moment of that entire story.
Totally.
Where trust and intuition was so meaningful. I have other stories where it's like,
we all have something.
Don't have that shot, or like, hey, don't do that. Like, go home. But those are like small moments that like it could go either way. This was like, I'm on top of a mountain. My buddy wants to launch firework. And I'm like, bro, I got a bad feeling. And a flipping helicopter comes out. Totally different. But when we have these conversations with partners in business, I think we're captivated by, what does this person bring?
Right.
What is this person great at? What happens if this works? And we get fixated on like,
The future.
well, this could be a $1 million business,
money,
or like
success.
this could generate, or this could
totally.
bring, or this could, same thing with relationships, right? Like this girl's got a wealthy family, or, you know, I could see our future kids together, like just projecting out that we miss the gut check.
Yeah.
We override it because the butterflies in our stomach, we say, are for a different reason.
But to remember, the future projection, the visioning doesn't have feelings and emotions in it. So everything looks great when you're visioning.
Of course.
Everything looks great because you don't feel the anxiety of when you're about to step on that stage, because you're not going to envision the anxiety. Right. You're going to envision the confidence. But then when reality comes, like you do a lot of stage speaking, you're like, oh, fuck, this shit's still scary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the relationship thing and the business partner thing. Like, I know so many people, like in the real estate business, like my business partnership, and I've had a bunch of business partners. And well, one thing is I haven't lost trust because I haven't lost faith in me and my ability to course correct. So I course corrected from that. And when somebody said, like, I said, you know, my partner, Aaron, we're doing this thing together with Front Runner. And they said, well, haven't you learned your lesson about partners? And I said, I learned my lesson about me and my gauging and my understanding of myself in a partnership.
That's deep.
But there's no trust loss because it was me that went into a relationship without full trust. I knew from day one when we signed the agreement at Bank of America, I was signing that and I said, something's not right here. I don't trust this guy with money. I need to handle the money. And I never spoke up until $250,000 was missing. That's on me. And it's on him, right? So it's not like, oh, the partnership got messed up because this guy stole a bunch of money and was, you know, like, not to shit on this kid, but this kid's very smart, but he's got a lot of shit going on in his head. And he's demons chasing him that forced him into this life of extracurricular activity and theft and embezzlement. And that's not on me, but it is on me because I knew from the very get-go that I shouldn't have done this. But like, I know a lot of people in business, in the real estate business, who, you know, aren't as outgoing, and they'll find an outgoing person partner and they'll partner up. And then all of a sudden, a year down the road, that they're at each other's throats because they were looking to fill a void. And it's the same thing. Like, I used to date in high school and college, and I would go for women that, like, as outgoing as most of you think I am. Aaron knows the very introverted side of me, which is really what I am. It's very introverted. I'm an extroverted introvert, so I bring the extroverted side out when I need to or when I want to. But I would go after women that were very A-type and very extroverted because it was filling that void where I felt a missing in my life. I felt insecure about that. And I felt, frankly, I just felt bad about that. Like, I felt like not as good because I couldn't be that guy. I couldn't figure out how to be that guy, the woohoo high five guy at a party. Like, I don't want to go to a party. If I do, I want it to be quiet. And I want to sit there and like sip whiskey and not have people like be loud. And I don't want the woohoo high fivers. Like, but so long story short, like, I think that there are a lot of people who now are hearing this and just go and like take a second for yourself and go check in with your relationships, maybe your current relationship, your divorce that you went through. What actually went wrong? Go a couple layers deep there. What went wrong from your side? Not what you think went wrong, but what you lacked or gave too much of or couldn't provide. Think about that, because most people that get divorced, they take that shit into their next relationship because they blame the other person.
Carry it forever.
Yeah, and then they just move on. So we all know those people. We are probably those people who look to other people to fill the void within us that we feel inadequate or, you know, unresolved with. And so this is an exercise for all of you, pen and paper moment, to start writing down the areas where you feel inadequate or like not enough or insecure. And then look at your friendships and your relationships, and do your friends or spouses or business partnerships actually fill those voids, or do they complement the things that you can offer? So I think the partnership that Aaron and I have, and you can speak on this too, is like, there are things that Aaron can do that I can't do at the level he can, but there's nothing that you can do that I can't do. And there's nothing that I can do that you can't do. We just have different levels at which we operate, but there's nothing like, oh, I don't know if I trust you with the money. I just had a business partner steal a ton of money. Aaron runs the money. There's not anything in my brain that says I need to be watching the books. We'll look at the books after every event. We'll divvy up the money. We'll put it to the right expense accounts. We move on to the next event. Very simple. But that trust is there, not in the result of where's the money going, but the trust is there in the allowance of communication and clarity in the conversation, right?
Yeah. It's also where there's trust is in integrity.
Yeah, and right? Honoring word.
So if I say to you, hey, this is what I need this month to make something, I don't know, let's say I have a rough month. I'm like, hey, I need to make this decision with some capital.
Right.
The reason I'm telling you that is not because I want to go, spend $1,200 skeet shooting. It's because
that's a lot of money.
I know that's a very bad example.
We buy gold skeets. Oh man!
But it's because there's a need there, right? So I think there's an integrity that we can bring to any dynamic that it gets built up over time. It gets revealed over time.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Yeah, it's eroded. It's eroded because we build the blocks up. We build the concrete up over that soft core that we know if somebody penetrates that, like we're in trouble because that would probably kill us. Not literally, but emotionally.
Yeah, and it's, I think what I like about our dynamic and with what I have with Ortis Academy and our work there in financial intelligence and financial wellness programs with employers and young adult youth programs is that at every stage, I know that someone can fill my shoes.
Totally.
So back to your can't, right? Like it doesn't mean that it's going to be performed the same way or at the same caliber. And that's just people's strengths and balances, but there's an interdependence.
Yeah.
I used to really hate the idea of being dependent.
Mm-hmm.
And how can you, like thinking about it now, I'm like, how could I ever delegate? How could I ever grow? How could I ever trust if I'm not willing to be dependent? Like there's a difference between like a codependency where like I'm fixated on you as the breadwinner in our dynamic. And what I do is I shelter inside and type code. Interdependence that I'm talking about is like, Ian, I'm having a really rough week. Can you step in and help me? Can you coach me?
Totally.
Or, hey, can you run this call? Or, hey, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Can you step in and help me? Or vice versa. And it might also be that a skill set or a client or whatever is your area that I need access to. It might also be that we're building something and neither of us have expertise and we have to depend on someone else to come in and help. But if we're not interdependent, we're not trusting.
Totally. I'm going to take a pause here. Let's have a check-in. Everybody listening, whether it's one person or a million people, it doesn't matter. We're only talking to you. And I want to have a check-in here. So whether you're in your car or at the gym or sitting at home or walking through the woods or whatever you're doing, listening to this, can we put the camera on the mic?
We should just put a smiley face and a face on them. We should identify.
But I'll still look at the mic, not the camera.
I don't know how to help you there.
No. All right. So I want to check in with you real quick. Aaron and I have said a lot of stuff, and I'll toot our own horns by saying it's high level as hell because we've worked through a lot of stuff and overcome and worked through some stuff that could really shut you down, really shut you down. And we just didn't allow it because our mission and our vision and our purpose for this world is to work through these things so that we can decipher it, disseminate it, and then bring it to you. So the question is, what's come up for you as we've been talking about this? And again, we're not taking partnerships like marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, boyfriend. We're not taking those intimate relationships out of the mix. They are very well in the mix because most of us use the other person to fill the voids in our life. Mm-hmm. So check in with yourself right now. while we go on to this, this next part, which we don't have these planned out, we're just going to talk and figure some stuff out. Like, what's coming up for you? Pay attention to what you feel, what the thoughts were that came up, and follow that rabbit, down the rabbit hole, or follow that path, right? Because that's an illumination. That's like, who's the people that left the little breadcrumbs? Hansel and Gretel?
Hansel and Gretel, yeah.
That fairy tale is probably banned from today, isn't it? I don't know. Most fairy tales seem banned. But anyway.
That's a good question.
Follow that trail and see where it goes, because all the bedrock that you've built around those soft pieces inside of you that were made when you were a kid, or those conditions that were formed way back when, or those habits that were formed way back when, there is now rock around them. There's now steel and cages around them that won't let them be penetrated. Something we said today penetrated it. And when you follow that down, we can help you erode that bedrock and then alleviate that pain point. And then your life gets exponentially better. It's not a joke or like a far-fetched idea. It's real. That's what transformation actually is. So going back to action, if you find something here that's challenging you, you have a question, you completely disagree with Aaron and I, get on the website and click that apply button and just have a conversation. There's nothing that's going to happen from the conversation except the commitment we make, which is at the end of that conversation, you will never forget that conversation for the rest of your life. That's our commitment. No talk about money, no talk about working together. We just want to talk to people that are open to understanding that there could be a different way of operating, of being and doing in this world, and we want to be a part of that. So that's it. Now, one thing I want to say real quick that came up when you were talking was, what about, like, we know plenty of people, maybe our parents were those people that, like, you brought up breadwinner, that's what it was. And I was thinking about the people that aren't the breadwinners and what do they actually feel like? The stay-at-home parent, whoever you are, whichever if you have kids, whoever the stay-at-home parent is, do you feel like your life is what you want it to be and that you have control of what you want to have control of? That's just what it came up for me, because like I know in my relationship, even though I'm out front, quote unquote, making the money, making the sales, I couldn't do it without Meredith. So Meredith, there's no like Ian's the breadwinner. Meredith's the breadwinner too, because without her, I couldn't do what I do. Without me, she couldn't do what she does. So it's a complementary relationship versus a codependent.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's important to just understand dynamics, right? Like the interdependency there is like, you can't get what you need to get done, which fuels
let's clear it. I can. She's physically capable. I'm physically capable. We choose
better together.
Yeah, we choose to be with each other. So yeah, I just want
I'll rephrase. At the level that you are operating, you need each other.
Yeah.
So your production supports her ability to support your production,
right,
which supports her ability to be nurturing, and
it's actually her first. Yeah,
cool.
It's the chicken and the egg. It's not the chicken or the egg.
I thought you said that it's the chick and the egg, and I was like, that's an amazing, wow.
It's the chicken and the egg. Kick that mic over.
Done. Pow.
For my editors listening to this, we need a little guy at the end, or a girl, whoever, a person that comes over and kicks the mic when we end the episode, because we say kick the mic every time. Anyway, so sorry.
Carry on. Anyway, at any point there, in a circle, you can pick any point as a start.
Right.
But I think true interdependency is wonderful because it's almost impossible to separate the two, right?
Sure.
Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't stopgaps. That doesn't mean that there aren't.
Why don't you go back and explain the difference between independent, dependent, and interdependent? Because maybe somebody's not.
Okay. All right. I'll try. All right.
You want me to do it?
I'll try. Well, let me do it from my perspective. Then you should too. You can back me up.
Dude, what do you got? A fire going in here? Is freaking heat on?
I think
I'm sweating my ass off.
I'm radiating. I'm on fire.
Jesus.
There's nothing is on.
I'm feeling sweat.
Okay. Independent, interdependent. What was the other? Codependent?
No. Dependent, independent, and interdependent.
Okay.
And then you have codependent, which is an outlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So someone dependent would be completely reliant on someone else to achieve, produce, or become who they want to be. Independent.
Which is scary, by the way.
Yes.
Real scary.
Independent, when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Independent would be, this is my opinion here, because this is gonna filter through to some of you very strangely. Independent would be a refusal to allow anyone to influence who you are, what you produce, and what you become.
Yeah, I would agree
you
with
are
that.
genuinely like, do not influence me.
You're on your own. Yeah.
And this is where I think many in the year of 2020 have lost their shit because COVID
lost their independence.
No. Like it's disrupted so many people from their job, their career, their relationships. Like they've lost their shit because they want to be independent, not realizing they're literally boxing themselves off from everything else.
Yeah.
That is independence, right? Interdependence is an understanding on or of the effects of a larger ecosystem on your ability to produce or become.
Yes.
And that ecosystem could be small, could be large, right? Like I think about this all the time. When we have a client and they mail a check, they don't just mail a check and I get a check. It has to go through so many hands to end up in my mailbox. That's interdependent. I've got to rely, even without my knowledge.
You have to each,
on all of the pieces of that process. So it's now got to go to the post office, but the post office truck needs gas. That truck needs wheels, needs parts. Like it's so large that if you try to deny this theory, I will eat you alive. I will gobble your ankles.
What?
There's no ground for you to stand on in denying interdependency.
Sure.
But an evolved person not only understands it, but can contribute to that system without loss.
Yeah. I understand it the same way. It's you count on them and they count on you, and it's a reciprocal relationship. And when one side gets outweighed, that's when you get out of counterbalance, and that's when you have to have that level of communication to bring it back into true.
Yeah.
So something else that came up for me when you were talking was that it sounds like the perfect partnership or the perfect relationship is one of trust. But the trust isn't like, are you going to lie to me? Are you going to steal from me? Are we going to make money together? The trust is, can I count on you to have integrity? Like, can we make, like you and I make these things very simple. And I know that most people listening, and we're going to get better audio, by the way. Just know that's coming.
We are working on that.
We're working on it. We're just trying to figure out how to get 2 mics and 1 recording, whatever. So anyway, I just saw a text from Eric pop up. Your sound sucks. Anyway,
well, how does she know? That was on the Facebook Live.
What?
That was the Facebook
He's listening
Live.
to our other episode.
Oh.
Yeah. Listen, the sound's not the greatest, but I'm telling you, this content is fire. So just listen up.
We'll figure it out.
Deal with it. Anyway,
now you made it a thing.
That's my insecurity. All right. So we make things very simple. And although a lot of the concepts we're talking about seem a little more overwhelming or complicated or whatever, they're not. We're just explaining a bunch of different things because you might not understand it the first way, but understood it the third way. And then you might understand it the 5th way and not the first way or the 10th way. So we're just giving a bunch of different options here. But at the end of the day, I think in our partnerships, in all capacities in life, it comes down to, are you going to do what you say you're going to do? Are you going to be and become the person that you say you're going to become? Because at the end of the day, really, it's only being and doing, and then you have the result. If you don't have the result you want, it's because you are not who you need to be to get that result, whether it's in your relationship, your marriage, your body, your finances, your business partnership. You are not who can get that. And now you have to move out of your own way and reaffirm your commitment to getting into that alignment that can get what you want, or you're going to wish for it all day long. And then, the quote from Tommy Boy is, you can wish in one hand and shit in the other to see which one fills up first. I love that quote. You hell of a look at a good T-bone by sticking your head up a bull's ass, but
that's great.
No, but so it's an interesting concept and very big. However, it can be that small. And I'm open to anybody's feedback on that. But I think it could be as simple as that. Like in a partnership, in a relationship, if you do not have integrity to your word, if you do not honor your commitment to be and do what you say, then you are not someone that can be interdependent upon. Is that a real word?
I like it though.
Yeah. It's not an interdependent relationship. You are now dependent or independent or codependent. But interdependent in our definition is probably the one where you want to be, because then it's reciprocated. And it's not like, well, this guy did all the work and you only cut a check. Like that's where you have animosity and BS. So codependent, definitely out. That's where you need each other and you cannot. And
it's like an unhealthy.
It's unhealthy. Yeah.
You know, in some sort of summation, anyone looking for a business partner or looking to develop a relationship, the best piece of advice that I could probably offer you is to be patient. You know, the trust, the check of integrity, the gut check, all of those pieces take a little bit of time.
Sure.
And, you know, there's an adage of like date before you marry in business, right? Let's do a little bit of work together before we sign a big deal together.
Sure.
There's some of that, but even beyond that, there's a need to check our impulses.
Yeah.
When I put something in my Amazon cart
and your baggage.
Yeah. You got to do the work. But like when I put something in my Amazon cart, that's pure emotion.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God, this is awesome. Click.
I have a drum set in mine.
That is, I can't wait to hear that.
It's blacked out, man. No chrome. It's all black.
Oh God.
It's sick.
I'm glad I don't live in that house.
It's not going to happen.
So if I buy right then, I'm likely to get that box in the mail and have plenty of buyer's remorse.
Sure.
Now in business, when you make that impulsive decision, that buyer's remorse is way more consequential.
Locked in.
Like you are on paper,
sure,
whether it's the articles of organization or the business agreement or what have you.
You're in a bank account.
It's significant. And if you can dodge the initial impulse and just sit in a little bit, you will naturally find yourself able to make better choices about who you align with, who's on your cap table, all of those pieces. And that I'm very fortunate to say that strategy has worked really, really well. Yeah.
I think checking your baggage and understanding yourself before you get into a relationship or a business partnership. And by the way, my marriage, the relationship I'm in with my wife, I got into that not knowing who I was. If any of you knew me in 2010, like you won't recognize me today because I don't look like that guy from 10 years ago. And I didn't know who I was, but our level of commitment was to figure it out and constantly shift and evolve ourselves into the people we wanted to be, to have the business, have the life, the lifestyle, the kids, the house, all that stuff that we wanted. But like for business partnerships, I think the best thing you can do is understand yourself so much that you have that conversation up front and say like, hey, here are the things that I'm scared about, or here are the things that derail me, or here's the things like I tell you all the time, I am a huge visionary and I have to write everything out so that I can organize it up, but you can just keep it in your head. And so, although that sounds small, like when two visionaries come together and they both have different process, that could be challenging for one or the other. And I'm working through it because I trust your process, and you're working through it because you trust mine, but it works.
Yeah. And we've, so you guys listening know, like we consistently have these conversations of, hey, here's what I want. Hey, here's what I like. Hey, here's what would be preferable from my side. Right. Hey, this is what I think would be best for, strategically. And it's important to note in those dialogues, us stating what we want is not there and present to win. No. It's just there to acknowledge with some integrity where we're coming from.
Sure.
And I think you and I do a really good job of listening to the other person's perspective before we respond. And if you're going to write a whole bunch of stuff out, flip and write it. Write it. And then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. And knowing each other's styles is part of it. And that comes back to trust. Like,
sure.
I trust that if you wrote something up, we've got a board here that Ian's written a lot of stuff on.
But you know what, dude? When you saw me write out that one right there that's laying on the floor,
yeah,
that's when the partnership actually really was like,
right.
You were like, oh, okay, this could benefit me and I can benefit you. Okay,
yep.
that works.
Yep.
You know?
And, you know, as Ian writes all this stuff out, I am 100% clear that if I went up to one of those lines was like, hey, man, I disagree with this, the initial response that Ian would have, this is what I respect about Ian. Ian would go, let's talk about it. And he has a very weird inflection, very, very Ianism inflection. Well, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
but it opens the door. It doesn't shut the door. And that's a piece of integrity that I've noticed and have spent a lot of intentional time noticing way before we were partners.
Sure.
And that's patient. It takes patience to like wait.
Patience.
I
know. And there's also the next phase, which is even if you said something, I have a commitment to not making meaning of how you said it, why you said it, why were you standing in the kitchen when you said it? Do you not respect me enough to, like, all the bullshit?
Right.
Think about what I just went into, right? Most of our relationships, friendships, spousal relationships, you're playing off of something that someone made a meaning to, right?
Dude.
My favorite show,
yes.
Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. No joke. My favorite show. It is all about meaning that people make from their trauma that they had way back when. And like, if you said to me, yo, what's up with this board, man? I don't like any of this. It'd be like, okay, cool. Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
There's my obligation is to stay here in the present moment and not go to like, well, why you say it like that? Like, your ideas are better than mine. And then all of a sudden it just goes to shit.
Right.
But if you hold a commitment of being in integrity and honoring your commitment to your word, which is also don't make meaning out of stupid shit. Don't bring that into your brain space.
Dude, I know we need to wrap soon, but like,
I don't know how long it's been. We should probably time this.
Not a clue.
It's 5:30.
Been about an hour. I remember very early on in Orders Academy, we would have conversations and two of the individuals on our team would ask questions. They were perfectly good questions. However, what I would do is I initially would internalize them as doubt. Yeah. I made meaning that they doubted, right?
Doubted you.
Me as a leader, right?
Yep.
Now, I made that meaning.
Totally.
That was not the intention of their questions. And later, I learned that—
You put it on them, though? Did you put that back on them?
Maybe without thinking.
You look at them differently, judge them a little differently.
It took a while to— I would say I didn't look at them differently, but it definitely made those meetings harder.
Sure.
I struggled to maintain my composure and not use my emotions in those meetings. Did I do it perfectly? Heck no, I'm sure I did. Yeah. I'm not aware of that at the time. But I can tell you that there was a moment where I understood that what they needed was clarity.
Yeah.
And they needed more detail. Here I was just like painting a picture. I'm like, I draw one blue brush stroke across this canvas. And I'm like, do you see the sky? And they're like, well, is it sunset? Is that an ocean? There's literally only one stroke on the canvas. And
you're like, do you not trust me?
Right. Yeah. A huge question comes up like, what do you don't believe in me?
Right.
And when I realized that what they needed from me in my leadership was more detail, I could sit in on that conversation and answer questions and not be alarmed, not make meaning of it, not go into like defense mode. And that's when our relationship evolved to then I could come to a meeting, paint one brushstroke and be like, now I'm ready for your questions.
Yeah.
What haven't I made clear?
Totally.
And that's, I think, an example of not making meaning, but also trusting that everyone has their own method. And our job as partners is to figure out how does your method and my method align? Not how are they different?
Right.
That is not the question. How do they align?
Yeah.
It's very, very different.
Yeah. I was thinking of something. If you want to, like, making meaning of things is probably one of the biggest foundational elements of our lives. Go watch the news. Go watch it. Just remember, meaning is interpretation of something that happened. And the people, the course, the company that does that best is Landmark Education. Like, hands down, you want to learn about the meaning you make of life, you go to Landmark, period. I give Landmark a lot of credit. And yes, Aaron and I own a coaching company and a mastermind events company. However, Landmark, Aaron and I have both been to. I went, 3 or 4 years ago and started that journey. I've got thousands of hours in that training. I encourage you to go. You got a bunch of hours in that training. That is the best training period I've ever experienced in my life.
Yep.
Besides our coaching businesses, which are foundationalized from what we've learned about ourselves and through those skills at Landmark. So I just got to give Landmark a big shout out, because it's something that's been probably the most beneficial in my life out of any other type of training.
It was a phenomenal event.
Yeah.
And they are, it's so eye-opening to see what happens when meaning is installed improperly.
Yeah.
Like,
there's some life by that.
Dude, there's some serious damage that is done based on meaning being installed improperly. And you can take what happened as a kid, what happened as adults, what happened in the grocery store,
everything,
every moment. If you install meaning inappropriately, you are going to suffer from it.
Yeah, it's going to take up brain space. Like, literally every single aspect of your life, from the alarm didn't go off when you tried to set it, so you made it mean that Apple's iPhones are blah, 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 this, or it's your internet provider. Just pause. Here's another exercise. No joke. Track your day and what you make meaning towards. I guarantee you it's 150 things plus. So guaranteed fast. Because it's exponential. Once the rock starts rolling down the hill, that's it. It's from the moment you get up that the way that you woke up means that your bed isn't this and that you're not good enough and all this. Like, I'm telling you, the meaning you make is insane. And it is killing you, and it's crowding your brain space and your life. And when you can free yourself, which is what Aaron and I have done, and yeah, there's still some meaning that pops up, but we have the skills to be able to squash it and move fast, quickly from it. But, meaning, oh my God, that's probably one of the biggest lessons from this.
It's got to be something we talk about more.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a whole conversation about meaning. Maybe the next one we'll just do meaning. But that's something that also Meredith and I are going to cover on one of our podcast episodes, because we talk about trust, and Mary and I are going to talk about her getting involved in business with me. I threw Mary into the deep end after my first 8 months in the business. I literally brought Meredith in because I was afraid to hire somebody because I didn't trust myself enough to know that this was sustainable at the level at which I was operating and succeeding. Threw Mary in. And you talk about commitment, that girl didn't quit. She learned these systems. She learned about the business. I was almost zero help. I was building our team. And she stepped up and she took care of business. And that is true interdependency. She counted on me and I counted on her. And although we were very different people back then, and I think she was more of a victim because I was more of she called me a terrorist. Very aggressive. Right? I was aggressive. I was scared to death that if this didn't work, I was going to be a failure and a loser. And I took a lot of that out on her, not on her, but I took it out on the person that I saw the most. And so we're going to talk about all that stuff. So I just want to acknowledge that, because all this stuff is therapeutic too for us.
It is.
And when you hear the first episode with Meredith and I learned and realized some stuff that I really had never seen before from our relationship, things that I appreciated and we're very grateful about from her and from Aaron. So these are cathartic for us too, to be able to talk, to not only give you the information, but to figure things out for ourselves too as we go through these journeys together. So I don't know, there's a lot that we can say about, and maybe we'll come back to the subject. We'll look for your DMs and your private messages and your emails and reaching out to us and talking to us about this stuff as it comes up. I don't know. Whatever you need from us, go. So you got anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, drop some comments in, let us know what you connected with. The most joyful part of sharing this openly about all things is how it reaches you and how it may help you make a shift. So,
or what meaning you're making of it.
Or what, talk about like the inception, dream within a dream.
Yeah. Think about that though. Are you making meaning of Aaron and I being right, or Aaron and I being wrong, or that's them, or you grew up like that and I didn't grow up like this? And like, think about it. What's going on in your head right now that you're making meaning of to justify why you're right, or why you're wrong, or why you're not good enough? And that shit happens way more than you think it does. So just pay attention to that. And we're here to help however we can.
I think a good topic would be right and wrong.
Write it down.
That'd be a phenomenal.
There's no such thing as right or wrong.
That's what I mean.
All right, we'll put that on the list.
Yeah. Dude, thanks for having me again.
Dude, it's not. This isn't having you.
Aaron and Ian.
Now we're a part of this thing. It's Ian and Aaron in the loft.
In the loft.
It sounds a little weird, but whatever.
Yeah, it does sound weird.
It's not as weird as you're gonna spend $1,200 shooting clays.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing.
It's probably not as weird as the fact that my favorite show is Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
It's true. People are gonna know a lot about us.
It's true. Well, listen, we're transparent. We're here to help the world however we can grow and transform into the people that they choose to be. And that's our commitment. So you're going to know a lot about us, the good, the bad, shit we failed at. I mean, I could get really deep into the partnership thing. I'm being very careful because of what's coming next with that whole situation. But I don't hate or blame. It's something that happened. I didn't make any meaning of it. I did for about 2 weeks, to be honest. But now it's a thing that I am very grateful for, even though it's a lot of money and there's still something that needs to come from it. I'm very grateful for that period of my life. I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be the partner, the husband, the father, person, business partner, the coach, real estate agent. I wouldn't be that today without that situation. So at that pivotal moment, I had a choice. Am I going to make this mean that I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I'm a sucker, I'm a this, or am I going to make this what it is, and I'm going to shift myself accordingly?
I love that.
Yeah. So that's it. Peeps, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Remember to catch us on our YouTube channel if you want to see Aaron and I's pretty faces. I got dressed up for you today. Actually, I had a bunch of appointments, but I came here in my fall gear. So let's celebrate that. Go to YouTube and check out the Men on Purpose YouTube page.
You do look very autumnal.
See my pretty cinnamony autumn leaf sweater.
I don't know.
I was going to add another word. But other than that, we appreciate you. Go to the website, go to iTunes, go to Spotify and Stitcher. And if you like this, rate and review it. I mean, we want to hear from you. We want to know how we're impacting you. If we're dead on, great. If we're not, like, how can we make this the best and most transformative experience for you possible? So again, people on purpose take action. I know for a fact that you got something from this. I know for a fact. And if you're the type of person that said, yeah, I know all this stuff already, you need to take action and make that phone call, make that commitment to filling out the app. Again, the app doesn't do anything crazy. It connects you to us, or you can DM us. I don't care what you do. However you want to reach out. But the best way to do it is through the proper channels, which is ianlobos.com/apply. Get that application done. It's very quick. It'll come over to us. We'll jump on a phone call together, and we'll see how we can help you, guide you in your life. And that's it. I mean, nice and easy. So for the episode on partnerships, this is Ian and Aaron saying thank you. We'll catch you on the next one.
Later.
Thanks again for listening to the Men on Purpose podcast, where our mission is to educate, elevate, and activate every man to truly live their best, most fulfilling life possible. To find out more about the podcast, our guests, or becoming a man on purpose, visit menonpurposepodcast.com and choose your most purposeful path forward.